Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Improved Version. This is a space where we don't just summarize books, but we dive deep into the wisdom that has the power to reshape our perspectives and transform our lives. Today, I want to take you on a journey that starts on a lonely, dark road and ends deep within the chambers of your own heart. Imagine for a moment that you're driving through the middle of nowhere. You're tired, you're lost, and you're running out of gas. Suddenly, through the mist, you see the flickering neon lights of a small, isolated diner. It is called the Café of Questions, or as many know it, the cafe at the edge of the world. You walk in hoping for a simple meal, but when you open the menu, you don't just see food and prices. Instead, on the back of the menu, 3 questions are printed that will change your life forever. Why are you here? Do you fear death? Are you fulfilled? Most of us spend our lives running. We run toward promotions. We run toward bigger houses. We run toward the expectations of others. But how often do we actually stop to sit with ourselves? Not just for a minute, but long enough to hear the silence. Taking the time to finish those 3 symbolic cups of coffee isn't about the caffeine. It's about the courage to face the inner void. Many of us are terrified of what we might find if we stop moving. We are afraid that the questions we've buried under piles of deadlines and social media notifications might finally demand an answer. But as the great philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once said, life can only be understood by looking backward, even though it must be lived forward. To truly live, we must first have the bravery to turn around and look ourselves in the eye. Today, we're exploring the profound insights of John Strzelecki's masterpiece, The Café on the Edge of the World. Strzelecki himself lived the story. He was a man who climbed the corporate ladder, earned the high 6-figure salary, and lived the American dream, only to realize it wasn't his dream at all. He walked away from it all, traveled the world, and wrote this book as a map for lost souls. Let me introduce you to our protagonist, David. David was the quintessential golden boy of modern American society. He was the man everyone wanted to be. He graduated at the top of his class from an Ivy League university, secured a position at a prestigious global consulting firm, and became the youngest senior manager in the history of his company. He had the beautiful home in the suburbs, a wife who was equally successful, and a social circle that admired his drive. To the outside world, David was winning at life. He was charismatic, sharp, and always seemed to have everything under control. But behind the expensive suits and the confident smile, David was crumbling. He had become a soulless spinning top. For 15 years, he had been working 80 hours a week. He justified it by saying he was building a future. Every promotion felt like a victory for about 5 minutes. Before the pressure of the next goal took over, his rest time was non-existent. Even when he was on vacation, his eyes were glued to his phone, answering emails from clients who didn't care about his well-being. He had become, as Karl Marx once warned, a cog in a vast, unfeeling machine. David realized he was functioning perfectly, but he wasn't living. He was biologically alive, but spiritually hollow. One night, after a promotion party that felt more like a funeral for his freedom, David did something impulsive. He walked out of the restaurant, got into his car, and just drove. He didn't tell his wife. He didn't call his boss. He drove until the city lights faded and the road became unfamiliar. He drove until he was lost, and that is where he found the cafe. When David entered the cafe, he was met by a waitress named Casey and a chef named Mike. They didn't treat him like a senior manager. They treated him like a human being in need of air. As David sat there, staring at the menu, the first question hit him like a physical blow. Why are you here? No, we aren't just talking about why David was in that specific diner. This question is about the purpose for existence, or what the book calls your PFE. Most people never find their PFE because they are too busy swimming against the tide. Casey shared a story with David that changed his perspective on effort and struggle. She told him about a time she was diving in Hawaii and saw a green sea turtle. She noticed the turtle was moving quite slowly, so she decided to swim alongside it. To her surprise, despite her athletic strength and her flippers, she couldn't keep up with the turtle. Every time she thought she was gaining on it, the turtle would pull further away with seemingly no effort at all. Casey realized that the turtle understood the ocean in a way she didn't. When the waves pushed toward the shore against the turtle's direction, the turtle would simply float. It would tuck its flippers and stay still, conserving every ounce of energy. But the moment the wave rolled back out to sea, the turtle would use that momentum to propel itself forward. It wasn't working harder than Casey. It was working smarter. It was using the natural flow of the universe to get where it needed to go. Casey, on the other hand, was trying to swim hard all the time. Regardless of which way the water was moving, she was fighting the ocean, and the ocean was winning. How many of us are swimming against the tide every single day? We fight to stay in jobs we hate because we are afraid of what people will think if we quit. We fight to maintain relationships that drain us because we fear being alone. We fight to keep up with the Joneses, buying things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. These are the reverse waves of our lives, the expectations, the fears, the social pressures. When we spend all our energy fighting these reverse waves, we have nothing left for when the forward waves of opportunity and passion finally arrive. We are too exhausted to move when the timing is actually right. David began to see that his entire career had been one long, exhausting swim against the tide. He was living a life that was correct by society's standards, but entirely wrong for his own soul. He was suffering from what ancient wisdom calls a dispersed spirit. His energy was scattered across 1,000 obligations, none of which truly mattered to him. He realized that the first step to finding his PFE was to stop swimming. He had to learn how to float, how to listen to the water, and how to wait for his own forward wave. This transition isn't easy, especially for those of us in the middle of our lives. We have mortgages, we have families, we have reputations. The book doesn't suggest that you should just throw your entire life in the trash tomorrow morning. Instead, it suggests that you should be like a river that winds around a mountain. You might not be able to go through the mountain, but you can change your course bit by bit, always keeping your eyes on the great ocean. Transformation starts with small, consistent shifts. It starts with reclaiming 1 hour a day for something you love. It starts with saying no to a social obligation that drains you and yes, to a quiet walk in the woods. I think of a woman I knew, a successful corporate lawyer in her late 40s. She was miserable, but she felt trapped by her high salary. She started spending 30 minutes every morning before anyone else was awake, just writing poetry. At first, she felt guilty, like she was wasting time. But those 30 minutes became the anchor of her day. That small forward wave eventually grew. She began taking classes, she met other writers, and eventually, she had the courage to transition into a career in nonprofit advocacy, where she could use her legal skills for a cause she actually believed in. She didn't jump off a cliff, she learned to swim with the tide. As David continued his conversation with Mike the chef, he moved on to the second question. "Do you fear death?" Mike told him a story about a wealthy merchant and a happy fisherman. The merchant was on vacation in a small coastal village when he saw a fisherman sitting on the dock, playing with his children and laughing with his wife. The merchant, being a man of business, asked the fisherman about his daily routine. The fisherman said, "I wake up, eat breakfast with my family, and walk my kids to school. Then I go out on my small boat and catch enough fish for my family and a few extra to sell. I come back, take a nap, have a wonderful dinner with my wife, and we walk along the shore to watch the sunset." The merchant was horrified. "But you have so much potential. If you worked longer hours, you could catch more fish. You could sell the surplus and buy a bigger boat. With a bigger boat, you could catch even more fish and buy a second boat. Eventually, you could own a fleet. You could move to the city, start an international seafood corporation, and become a multi-millionaire." The fisherman looked at him calmly and asked, "And then what?" The merchant replied, "Well, then you could retire. You could move to a small coastal village, wake up, eat breakfast with your family, walk your kids to school, fish a little, take a nap, and spend your evenings watching the sunset with your wife." The fisherman smiled and said, "But sir, that is exactly what I am doing right now." This story cuts to the heart of the modern human condition. We are constantly delaying our happiness. We tell ourselves that we will be happy when we have the promotion, when the kids graduate, when we have $1 million in the bank. We are living for a future self that might never arrive. And because we are constantly living in the future, the idea of death becomes a terrifying threat. We fear death because we feel we haven't actually started living yet. We are afraid that the clock will run out before we get to the good part. But the truth is, only those who haven't lived are afraid to die. When you live authentically, when you're present in every moment, and when you're doing what you love, death loses its power over you. It is no longer a thief that steals your future. It is simply the natural end to a story that was well told. The Roman philosopher Seneca famously said that it is not that we have a short space of time, but that we waste much of it. Life is long enough if you know how to use it. David realized that his fear of death was actually a fear of regret. He was terrified that he would die having been a great manager but a poor human. He realized that if he started living his life for himself today, if he started fishing like the fisherman right now, he wouldn't need to fear the end. Every day would be a complete unit of life. He would be even with the universe every single night. The conversation in the cafe then turned to the final and perhaps most difficult question. Are you fulfilled? To explain this, Casey told David about a man she knew who had a recurring nightmare. In the dream, he was on a golf course, facing the most important shot of his life. But the ball was always in a terrible position, stuck behind a tree or buried in deep sand, or sitting on a steep slope. He would spend hours in the dream trying to adjust his stance, trying to find the perfect angle, sweating and panicking because he knew he was going to fail. One night in the middle of the dream, the man had a moment of lucidity. He stopped, looked at the golf ball, and realized something incredibly simple. He was the only one on the golf course. There was no referee. There was no crowd. There was no one telling him he had to play the ball where it landed. So he simply reached down, picked up the ball, and moved it to a flat, green area with a clear view of the hole. He took a swing, hit a beautiful shot, and finally woke up feeling at peace. This is a metaphor for the tests we think we are taking in life. Most of us are living according to a grading rubric that was written by our parents, our teachers, our bosses, or society at large. We think we have to play the ball exactly where it landed, We think we have to be successful in the way others define success. We think we have to stay in the difficult position because that's just life. But you're the only one on your golf course. You have the right to pick up the ball. You have the sovereignty to redefine what a good life looks like for you. Fulfillment doesn't come from winning a game someone else designed. It comes from having the courage to design your own game. When David realized this, he felt a massive weight lift off his shoulders. He didn't have to be the youngest senior manager. He didn't have to have the biggest house. He could pick up his live ball and place it wherever he wanted. As the dawn began to break, David realized he had spent the entire night in the cafe. He hadn't eaten much, but he felt more nourished than he had in years. The cafe hadn't given him a map or a set of instructions. It hadn't told him to go back to his job or to leave his wife. It had simply held up a mirror and asked him to be honest. The cafe on the edge of the world isn't just a place in a book. It is a state of mind. It is that quiet space you enter when you stop the noise of the world and ask yourself, why am I here? Am I living? Or am I just drifting? If I died tomorrow, would I be satisfied with the story I've written so far? As David drove away from the cafe, the road didn't look so dark anymore. He didn't have all the answers, but he had the right questions. And sometimes, the right questions are more valuable than any answer. He knew that when he got home, things would have to change. He knew there would be difficult conversations, but he also knew that he was no longer a cog in a machine. He was the master of his own flow. I want to leave you today with a thought. Life does not wait for us to be ready. It does not wait for the perfect moment or the ideal circumstances. It is happening right now, in the breath you're taking as you listen to my voice. Don't wait until you're lost on a dark road to visit your own inner cafe. Take a moment today, just 10 minutes, to sit in silence. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Be honest, even if the honesty hurts. Because on the other side of that hurt is a freedom that no salary can buy. I hope you found this journey as transformative as David did. If these reflections resonated with you, if they sparked a small flame of curiosity or a desire for change, then please share this video with someone who might be feeling lost in their own reverse waves. We created Improved Version to be a sanctuary for those who are seeking more than just survival. For those who are seeking a truly meaningful existence. Every week, we bring you the most profound wisdom from the world's greatest books, distilled into lessons you can use to build a better version of yourself. If you want to continue this journey with us, please hit that subscribe button right now. Join our community of seekers and growth-minded individuals. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if it helped you today, and click that notification bell so you never miss a chance to pause and reflect with us. Your support allows us to keep creating this content and sharing these life-changing stories with the world. Thank you so deeply for spending your valuable time with me today. Remember, you have the power to pick up the ball. You have the power to swim with the tide. You're here for a reason. Make sure it's yours. I'm looking forward to seeing you in our next deep dive. Until then, stay mindful, stay courageous, and keep growing. Goodbye for now.